What is up? We are back. We are live. I'm Brandon. He's Zach. This is the Zoneheads podcast presented by Kevin Crager. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in a home in Central Florida, you need a realtor who not only knows the market, but has experience to protect your investment. Kevin Crager with LPT Realty, one of the top 25 producing agents in Central Florida. His number scrolling at the bottom of the screen, but in case you're listening to this and not watching it, on Facebook or Twitter, 407-702-4635. And any of our partners can be found, along with Kevin, at zoneheadsmedia.com/partners. I've got my Play the Song shirt on as we speak right now. You know, for those that were following along with us, and we had a pretty consistent schedule there for a minute, popping on Monday mornings, giving that instant reaction to the weekend. Zach has a new job now. We'll tell you about that in a second. So we've been just trying to find pockets of time over the last couple of weeks. And at some point, we'll get back onto a normal schedule. But for us, it's more important that we're just continuing to put this content out there and that we stay in communication, because this is how Zach and I can't communicate unless it is via a podcast or over the radio. So we understand that's how this bond will continue. But a long-winded way of me saying it's the day of celebration, Zach. The Magic.
Let's go, baby.
In round one
of
the NBA playoffs.
You know what, man? And I'm getting rid of everything Boston. Not that I have anything in my house that's Boston, but I'm gonna buy some Boston the donuts. I'm gonna throw them in the river. I'm just gonna do everything bad against Boston that I can, man. I'm all about this. I love this. I feel like we talked about this exact matchup happening in the postseason like 6 months ago. So, We'll see what happens. I know you got plenty of thoughts on that, but shout out to Orlando for being back in the dance, for beating the brakes off Atlanta. And I know you were in the house. Look, man, a chip in a chair, right? Like, regardless of the seeding and who's won championships and whatever, I don't care. Like, you're in the dance. Let's go have some fun. Magic fans should be pumped right now. Basketball fans should be pumped right now.
That's awesome. I mean, last year was just cool to be back into the playoffs and feeling like you have this young core that is going to continue to ascend. The regular season did not go the way that people would have expected. And you did have to play your way in to the playoffs. But this year, when you take on Boston, it's a whole lot more interesting. You know, the Magic Cavs series from the national basketball fan was kind of panned, and it was buried on it. That was the NBA TV. That was the true TV NBA playoff series. This is not. I mean, game one on Sunday is 3:30 p.m. on ABC.
Whew.
That's what happens when you take on the Boston Celtics. So for Magic fans that have been clamoring for, hey, give us the spotlight, this is how you get it, is you play teams like Boston in these situations. The Magic, Zach, have matched up really well with this Boston Celtics team. I know the playoffs are a different animal, so if this goes sideways, it just is what it is. But the Magic over the last 9 games, and this is really since they drafted Paolo Banchero, 6-3 straight up against the Boston Celtics. That's not nothing. I think the price on this game, by the way, way too high. But there's some nuance to this, Zach. I looked up, because Hard Rock didn't post this right away, right after the Magic won. I noticed that Hard Rock, bless their heart, they are our local sports book, so we have to embrace them. But they wait. They know they don't need to issue prices right away, because it's not like you're going to run anywhere else.
Yep.
So if you want to see what prices look like immediately after series are set or games are set, you got to go, and you're not going to be able to bet on these, but you can at least see what they look like. Go to FanDuel, go to DraftKings. They're in states that are so competitive. If they don't post these lines right away, they're screwed. Their customers will go somewhere else. Hard Rock waits to see what those customers do, what those books do with their lines, and then they set a line. The Magic opened at 22-1 to win this series on FanDuel. This morning, they finally posted it on Hard Rock, and the Magic are 14-1. Do not bet the Orlando Magic at 14-1 to win this series. They have given you a bad price.
Yeah, and again, like I don't really have anything to lose here except for the money that I gamble on the Hard Rock betting app. First of all, again, I'll always say like I'm happy that we have legal gambling in the state. Like
Absolutely.
I always
I mean,
pressure.
you do a really good job, but this is the trouble, is this exact situation.
Yeah, and listen, and I always tell people that are like getting involved or have already been involved, like be smart, don't get crazy. Even when you and I go over the bets that we like to make, like you shouldn't be more putting your mortgage or anything like that on the line. Like gamble responsibly, and I say that, and I mean that. I mean you can still have fun. I've been doing it my entire life without throwing a crazy amount down on the lines. Those two things being said about the Hard Rock and about gambling in general, the Hard Rock typically does not give you as good of odds as you get in other books. And again, that's because it's monopolized in the state and it's going to be that way for at least another 20 years, if not forever. So that reality is what it is. It does kind of suck, especially in these scenarios. Often they're not that drastically different.
Yeah, this is as drastic as I've ever seen it, but this is also
slight. It's
a Florida team taking on a non-Florida team.
Yep.
In with a giant number that still, even at 14-1, looks pretty big too. Just know they have almost slashed that in half for the Florida sports bettor. So
Crazy.
Don't jump. There are other ways to bet into this, and when we get to the end of our episode today, I'll give you my favorite way to do it. But it's a nice little radio tease for you. But I would say do not take the series price.
And the other side of this is I know they did this last year with the Florida Panthers. There was really, South Florida, they were starting out. There's with the launch after the Super Bowl, and they were giving a lot of like Florida Panther specials. The problem is if you bet and they win, you still win, right? So like even though those odds are not comparable to the other books, it's still good value if you win. It's the magic win. And last year they felt that with the Panthers, but at the end of the day, and this goes back into the like actual analytics side and our advice and gambling side, it's like you can take shots, you can take some high risk bets, but like make sure the value is worthwhile, right? The risk is worth
absolutely.
I
mean, Zach, it's like
cut, it's not.
Like if I had to, I'm going to try and see if I can come up with a good analogy here. So
on
just
the fly, look at
roll with me for a second.
Okay.
If you had a bunch of people standing next to you, you had to pay $5 to flip a coin with a 50-50 chance that it's going to land on heads or tails, and you get some money back if you win the coin flip. So everybody that you're standing next to pays $5. They come over to you and they're like, you're going to have to pay 15.
Mm-hmm.
Now you still have the same chances of winning this coin flip.
Yep.
But it's like, why am I paying more than? Now, if I win, it doesn't matter. But why would you pay more than somebody else? I think that's the way that I look at this. Yes, like you said, if you win, you win. Who cares? But it's just like I think a general philosophy that I have. I don't want to get ripped off. I'm not trying to pay $50 for a shirt that everybody else got through a T-shirt cannon.
Oh, I love it. With that being said,
did that work, by the way? Did that make any sense? Can you?
Sure.
Okay, never mind. Move on.
I mean, it slightly did. It's an impossible analogy to make because the problem is like, okay, but if you really want to get in on that coin flip, let's just say that guy offering you the $15 buy-in is the only way you can get in. That's the supply and demand side of it. Like, if you really want to bet the Magic in this, let's just say somebody doesn't care about the odds. They just feel like Orlando's going to win, or they're just such a big fan that they're like, we're going Magic, we're letting it ride. They don't have a choice. So, like, even though from a betting standpoint it's frustrating, there's not other options. So that's why the Hard Rock does it. Now, on the flip side, and I know you got some things up your sleeve, there are other ways to bet the Magic if you're a huge fan. You can go by game, you can go over/under, you can bet player props, and that's a lot of fun that I know, Brandon, you're ready to talk about later in the show when we hit our bets.
That's right. Good point, though. Just don't take the series price. That's all. You can still bet the series. I have the paper box sitting here. This is from last night's play-in. Look at all these are the notes that I take. By the way, this absolute chicken scratch. So we get these paper boxes after every timeout. So I've got like a little stack throughout the entire game, but I only save the quarters because I don't need all the minute by minute stuff. And then this final box, this is how I conduct my post-game show on the radio, is I get this. I have about 2 minutes to fill out what notes I need in order to break down the game properly without getting too in the weeds. But that's the secret sauce right here. And right at the top, I wrote 25-point win against the Atlanta Hawks. I don't know if you can see that.
Are you still surprised? Sidebar real quick. So obviously been in a lot of press boxes, you have as well. Are you surprised that we're still printing paper as much
Shocked.
as we are? Right?
Shocked.
Like,
we shouldn't be doing honestly, it kind of offends me as a lover of Earth.
I mean, you used it. So like I give you a little bit of credit, but like think about the amount of paper you get as a press member on a given night. And then think about the amount of games there are. And then think about the amount of paper that like in every team and every
it's
sport,
upsetting.
at least in the States, does this. It's crazy that like I think you should be able to request it. I'm sure there's some older folks or people that just have habits of like still wanting it. It should be a request thing though. Like if I can just I'm going to give one piece of advice to the sports world, the media side, my communications folks. Make it a request thing. Let's save some trees here. Let's stop on the paper stuff.
Amen to that. And and look, this paper that I'm showing you right now, this is the end of the game. Just print this one. the issue is that
that's where you can request it. That's where
this,
you can be like, this game.
This paper is not the problem. It's that I get 15 to 20 of these throughout the course of the game. That they're not all necessary. You are spot on with that. I feel like this is a nice, healthy transition. And if I'm all over the place, I apologize. I am completely delirious after last night. Barely slept, way too excited. But you have a new venture that you are embarking on. You've actually branched away from media outside of what you're doing on the Zone Heads podcast, but enlighten the people.
Yeah, man. So first of all, still love the journey that I had, the media side of it, all the sports that I got to witness from the views that I did in the locker rooms, field level. Like it was amazing. I really enjoyed the 10 years I spent in the sports media industry. And obviously, because we have such a strong friendship and I still have such a passion for sports, like love that we can do the Zone Heads podcast and still give me an outlet to kind of talk sports because I still do love sports. I still am passionate. That being said, the 10 years were really self-fulfilling for me. Like it was a dream. It was something I really wanted to do. And I felt like I got to the top of that mountain. I was really happy with where I kind of ended up on it all, even though the breakup was tough. Now I was like, how can I give back? What can I do that's like where I'm helping others fulfill their dreams? And I've been fortunate enough to join aboard College Hunks Hauling and Moving Junk, which is a Tampa Bay HQ'd operation. And then obviously I'm in Tampa Bay, but yeah, man, I'm just excited to be a part of their brand, Central Squad. I'm going to be helping go around the country, like launching different franchises with new owners that are transitioning or taking over a store. And I'll be helping on the front end too, in the background of like creating that curriculum. So for me, I get to kind of go out there now and help business owners that are buying these franchises live out their own dream, and the employees that are, like looking to pay bills and stuff that are a part of that, and the customers, or I should say the clients on the other side. Obviously, moving is statistically, it's the top 3 of the most stressful things that you're going to go through in your life. We make it stress-free. So excited to be a part of the brand, get out there and just, again, help others pretty much every day. That's everything I'm doing in some capacity is helping others, whether it's the owners of the franchises, Brand Central, or again, the clients that we're helping move, not just move homes, but hauling junk as well, which is a big part of what we do. So excited to be part of the College Hunks, man. Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm pumped. I really am. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Congratulations. You've officially left the nest. Yes. And we are all looking at you from the media tree going, oh, it's like watching a bird fly away. Like, tell us what it's like over there, But now between Kevin Crager and our go-to real estate agent and your relationship and employer of College Hunks Hauling Junk, the most stressful thing you can do in your life, we can help you throughout that whole process. Real estate agent to the moving truck and the movers. So we got you covered. And this has totally happened on accident. But the Zone Heads podcast is your go-to for stress-free moving.
And I was telling you this a few months ago before I had even, looked into the brand, gotten through the process and joined the brand. But just we were talking about moving in general. And God bless my brother-in-law. They had just moved in the last few months. And he was like, hey, man, I'll throw you some pizza. We'll get some beer. Like, come over and help. And I'm like, we're too old, bro. Like, get a moving company. Like, I've helped so many people in my
Yeah.
life on a personal level with trucks and friends and myself, and like moved, and like I get it, like it does cost money to move, but man, it is one of the conveniences that I 100% feel like it's worthwhile, because moving is such a hassle. To be able to have professionals come in, and again, Call Chunks is the best at what they do. Um, Come in and really wrap your furniture, handle it right, move it right. It just makes what's usually an insanely frustrating day 1% of that.
There are two conveniences that I will always pay for, and that is moving and washing my car. I don't need to do either of those things.
Amen,
Two
brother.
two different price points, but still same general philosophy. There are
Amen.
people out there that just simply do it better than me. No reason to get into the weeds with all of that. Now, before we move on completely, we do have the NFL draft coming up a week from tomorrow. So that is our bread and butter as a tandem, is talking NFL, and that is something that we're going to get into in a moment. What have you stopped paying attention to most since getting out of the media rat race? This is the thing that when I
Ooh.
picture, you never know when you're going to get that phone call from the employer that you're no longer welcomed. Could happen to any of us. And I picture that day and go, I know that there are things that I would shed from my day to day. I wouldn't stop being a sports fan. I wouldn't even stop doing stuff like this, but there are things I would
Yeah.
stop doing. And I don't know exactly what that is. So you're on the other side. You tell me, what have you
Well,
said? Oh, I don't need to worry about this shit anymore.
I'd say the big picture stuff is like, if there is a game I'm watching, I can walk away easier. Like if we have a dinner or something comes up, I don't feel like I have to be as glued. But honestly, it's the in between. It's the practice reports. It's the injury reports. It's everything that happens between the games I'm paying attention to slash watching, right? Like all the in middle stuff, I guess. So if we're talking about like an Oreo cookie, even though the best part is the middle, that's the part that I just don't care about anymore, because for me, so like I'll find myself getting to games, and that's when I'll learn who's hurt. That's when I'll see, like what's been going on behind the scenes. And I noticed this even in the NFL playoffs a little bit. I'm definitely noticing it in the baseball season, because obviously watching a lot of Rays baseball here, and with the Lightning, now you got the NHL playoffs about to start up. I'm just learning so much more that way. And then here's the other side of it, and this kind of still goes with you, Brandon, and what you do. The tidbits I do get in between the games that I watch are just things that pop up randomly on social media, or if I have like drive time and I'm listening or something of that nature, where I have extended periods, which I haven't really had a ton of, to be honest, the last few weeks. But yeah, I'd say like the details beyond the game are something that falls to the wayside pretty quickly.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be the case. So maybe this is one of those things then, because we have spent a lot of time, you and I, getting into the weeds of what a first round mock looks like. And some of these guys, some of which we're familiar with from their college work, some guys, quite frankly, a lot of us, even in sports media, are learning about as you're learning about them, because you're just not paying attention to offensive linemen that played at Missouri. It's just not how you're spending your Saturday mornings and afternoons. Let's take a look at the NFL draft. We're a week away,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I would bring this back to the state. Bucks, Dolphins, Jags. I wanted to do a composite look of a couple of different mock drafts from sites that I trust and see who these experts have our teams inside of this state taking. So this is what I have compiled. These are three different mock drafts from sites like The Athletic, NFL.com, ESPN.com. The Jags, Ashton Genty, running back, Boise State. Two different Mason Graham picks out of Michigan. That seems to be the most popular pick. For the Dolphins, it's a little more obscure. The Dolphins at 13, the Jags, by the way, pick at 5. The Dolphins, one site had them taking Nick Emanwari, the safety out of South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Can't help you there. And Ariante Ursi, the offensive tackle out of Minnesota. And then the third one was Will Johnson, defensive back out of Michigan. That guy is an
Yeah, he's
absolute
good.
stud. And then the Bucks, this is where the pure comedy lies. all 3 mock drafts that I looked at have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking Jahad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama, who is, from what I have heard, essentially Levante David Light. So that seems to be everybody's go-to choice for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They sit at 18. Your initial thoughts to the composite mocks?
Well, I think the main thing is obviously it gets harder and harder to project and pick because you don't know how the board's going to line itself up, right? Like last year, not having a defensive player go for forever was insane. We've never seen that happen. Literally, it was historic, right? So I think it's tougher with the Bucks and then in a lesser capacity the Dolphins. The Jags are interesting because they're going to probably take like best offensive weapon available. Like I love Genty. I hate taking running backs in the first round. I don't love that pick for them. I think they've got some other stuff to figure out. And the guy like Liam Cohen that's there now, think about how much of a stud Bucky Irving was for him last year, right? Like that wasn't a first round pick. So I think Liam and the way that the Jags are going to operate, like Genty doesn't make a lot of sense for me for them there. If a guy like Travis Hunter somehow gets to 5 and you want more of a dynamic playmaker, maybe you bring him in and you can do a bunch of stuff. I don't think I don't think Genty ends up being 5th to the Jags. Like I'd be pretty surprised to see that. I think that on the Dolphins side, like, and you hear the rumors and you're seeing, first of all, they're in a bad place right now, Brandon. Like you're looking at everything that's going on with Jalen Ramsey. You had Tyreek Hill's situation. Yeah, sure.
They have no direction. This is why I think you can actually tell a lot about a franchise based on just look at different mock drafts. How many different mock drafts have a team taking a player at a different position?
Yeah.
As silly as that sounds, I do think it can tell you about how lost a franchise is. No one knows how to mock the Dolphins because nobody knows what they're thinking right now or what they even need to build because they need so much.
We can't mock the Dolphins, but damn, can we mock the Dolphins? They are in a spot like no other. I don't think I know one Miami fan right now that's happy with this organization. It's ugly. I don't know what they're going to do. Again, the Jags, I don't like the idea of Genty, but at 5, they're going to probably get somebody with tons of value. And you got Liam there, so a new coach. I don't think there's much they can do to screw that pick up. Even if they took Genty, which I hate that because running back at 5 and whatever. Like, I don't think that that's a bad pick. I just think that's a bad time to take a running back. So I put that there. But like the Dolphins, they have so many fires to put out right now. Like the draft isn't going to help them do. It's not going to do that fully for them. Now, a good draft obviously could help with that. But what is their direction? Are they in the Tua era? Well, not if Tyreek and Jalen Ramsey and these guys are on their way out. I mean, and you could argue maybe even last year was the end of that. It's just so messy in Miami right now, Brandon. Like, I don't know if any one player, let alone even a draft class, is going to change much for the Miami Dolphins heading into 2025 season.
I feel like a shift in philosophy is the best thing that they can do. Moving off of Jalen Ramsey is not a problem. Moving off of Tyreek Hill is not a problem. They should have done that in the middle of last season when they realized that they weren't really going anywhere and Tua was dealing with injuries. They need a philosophy change. They need to get tougher. And if they just spend their draft saying, we are going to take the biggest, meanest, toughest interior offensive and defensive linemen and running backs that want to punch you in the nose, they need a philosophy change. They are so they have guys that are overpaid, that are over the hill, or that just simply haven't worked out. Look at the way that they have spent their money and the moves they've made. Jalen Ramsey, good player, not what he was in Jacksonville. Bradley Chubb, that was a bust of a move. Tyreek Hill, you can't even trade him right now because he's basically, I mean, the contract is poison.
He's volatile, man.
Absolutely volatile. And you're stuck with Tua, and that's fine. I think you can still win games with Tua as your quarterback, but you gotta get real tough around him because he's not that.
It's not going to happen, though, because you guys still are stuck with Mike McDaniel and the same GM. And even more so, and this is what I keep telling all my buddies, and you included, that are Dolphins fans, it's a cultural, organizational issue from ownership down. You can't fire the owner. So unfortunately, you have a situation there, and you're not wrong. It's philosophy. It's all the big picture items, right? Like culture. It's all the things that help a place like Tampa Bay, and we're not talking about them as much at this exact moment, but they moved from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield. Why are they still successful? Well, yeah, the players, yeah, the coaches, Bruce Arians to Todd Bowles, like, but it's because no matter what changes have happened, you have such a foundation. Miami doesn't have that. And I do think that even though it's foundational, it starts at the top.
And that is why every mock I look at has the Bucks taking the same person, because they are predictable in a positive way.
Yeah.
You know what they need. You know what kind of players they go after, and it becomes easy, even if they don't get it right, these people, and they end up drafting somebody else. Just the general idea that we know your culture, we know what type of players you draft, you know yourself. The Bucks are self-aware, and they have an identity. And so it's easier to predict where teams may go that have a specific identity and type of player that they want to bring into the building. You have no idea. You are absolutely guessing when it comes to the Miami Dolphins, but with the Bucks, that doesn't seem to be the case. So does that sound about right as far as the Tampa Bay side of things?
I think on paper it does. It's so tough. Like Levante, God bless him, he keeps deciding not to retire and then having like strong seasons. Like he's one of the best Bucks we've ever seen, just on and off the field, an amazing dude. Um, the Bucks are really tough because Jason White's a wizard as a GM. In the first round, he's usually like 50-50 with his picks. If you go through, even since he took a guy like Jameis, obviously, but he also had Mike Evans, and we could go up and down. He's really good in the middle rounds, like the 2 through 5 is usually where he finds his gems. The Bucks only think have 6 total picks. I think this is the type of draft where they're going to look to kind of like garner more picks in, and he does that a lot too, and trade back and just try to stock up in the middle rounds. They're and I feel like I've covered them closely for a long time. Like they're really tough to put your finger on. Every once in a while, you can be like, oh, that's kind of the direction. That's the guy. I don't think they look to replace Levante with that first round pick. I don't. I don't think that that's the play. I think that you can get linebackers in the second and third round, and again, that's where Jason Light makes his money. That are going to probably be better. I would be surprised if they took that linebacker at that pick in this draft.
So I'm looking at some of his profile, and then there's this picture of him shirtless working out on a football field. This guy looks like the Incredible Hulk. 6'3", 245.
You know what though? That doesn't always translate. That used to get
of
me
course
like
not.
juiced. Like because they had Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who's now on. He's not there anymore. He was a first round pick out of Washington. And he was so yoked. He was jacked, and just that was it. Like that was his whole thing. Now on the flip side, they got Yaya Diaby, who's even more jacked and even more looks like the Hulk, and he is pretty good. So yeah, it doesn't always translate. Obviously, you prefer a guy that's in shape versus a guy that's out of shape, even from an aesthetic standpoint. But yeah, I used to get geeked about that, and then I've seen too many of these dudes that are huge, and just it doesn't translate.
I mean, it's hard to make it to the NFL and not have an 18 pack.
That part too. Yeah, that part too.
Well, I think our best bet would be to, since we have been jumping around the last couple of weeks as far as when we've actually been popping on and doing this podcast, the day after round 1 might be the way to go, and we can actually see how all this goes.
Oh yeah.
Friday, book it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to our bets. All right, we'll wrap it right here. I teased this at the start of the podcast. There is a way to bet the Orlando Magic. If you're so convinced that they're going to win the series, as I said earlier, I would not advise on the Hard Rock Bet app taking them at 14-1 if the price is still sitting there. If they bloat that back out the way that it should be, which is closer to 20-1, then go for it. Have some fun, because I do think there is a small possibility that the Magic could actually win this series. So you wouldn't be completely wasting your money, potentially. But if you think they're going to win the series, bet them game to game on the money line. That would be the more profitable way to do it. But the bet that I have already placed on the series, what I would actually advise for folks out there is Magic plus 2.5 in this series at plus 325. So you're still essentially getting 3-1 odds on this, and you just need the Magic to push this to a 6 or a 7 game series, which I think is very much in range for this team. If they just simply shoot league average, this team's like 12-2 on the season. They have really matched up well with the Boston Celtics over the last couple of years. Similar types of players in terms of, the wings that can defend Jason Tatum and a Jaylen Brown. The Magic are the number 1 team in the NBA at defending the three-point line, both at accuracy and frequency. And the Celtics are really good at both. So I think the Magic can make the Celtics a little bit nervous. Plus 2.5 series price that's my favorite bet.
I like that. I feel I'm all on the Magic train, man. I'm not taking the odds for the series, but I'm going to tell you on a lot of that. And I think this team's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I hope that they can actually be competitive, not just in these games with Boston, but again, let's go 6 or 7. I think those are always great scenarios for sports fans, regardless of who you're pulling for. For me, and this isn't kind of like going out on a limb, but keeping up with the Rays on the diamond side of things, I'm all over the overs at Steinbrenner Field, Brandon. You're talking about a short porch. You're talking about a lot of runs being scored there. Just in this homestand alone, let me throw in. Typically, the totals in these MLB games are 7.5. Sometimes they're 8.5, right on the higher end. Like you're not getting much more than that. Since getting back to Steinbrenner Field for this long homestand, here's the total scores with the Rays and their opponents: 7, 9, 12, 9, 9, 11, 17, 11. This homestand. Like if you're betting the overs, and even at the beginning of the season before they went on their first road trip, they had their first 2 series at home. They only had less than 5 runs one time. So outside of the one time against the Rockies, they've scored at least 5 runs as a total with their opponent. I'm all over the overs with the Rays at home on the Tampa side of things. So if you're looking for something to mix in, whether you want to take it outright and just follow that every night to kind of get some green going, or start mixing that into parlays you feel good about, I like the Rays, and for this one, it'll be Boston. They're still in the Red Sox series tonight at 7:05, but I love the overs.
And I'm an unders better, and that is that park has given me fits. So a sharp move by you in looking at the overs for those Rays games, and I think the totals, like you said, they sit between 7.5 and 8.5 most of the time, unless you're playing in Colorado. But I think because the Rays are not a team that typically puts up a lot of runs, you're usually going to get a 7 or 7.5 with them. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to have to at least avoid the unders, if not take the overs with you.
Also, it doesn't help anybody now. I hit this bet last night. For 14 straight years, the Rays have lost on April 15th.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know, but it's now 15 straight years that they've lost on April 15th.
I need this information before they play, though. That's the problem.
No,
I saw this after the fact.
I got it like 20 minutes before, and I was like, "What?" And I was like, "All right, yeah." I mean, I jump things like that. I jump on pretty quickly.
That's the dumbest. That is the dumbest trend I've ever heard. But
15 years in a row, baby.
Makes no sense. Can you explain it? Any explanation? No, of course not.
But it's provocative. It gets the people going.
We're going to get going. That's a wrap for this week's edition of the Zoneheads podcast, presented by Kevin Crager with LPT Realty. Go check out his information at zoneheadsmedia.com. Also, more bets for you found over on that website as well, zoneheadsmedia.com/bets. Zach, we'll do it next week, my friend.
Sounds good. Can't wait.